goals are. And that's just what I'm going to be helping you guys understand in this video, trying to help you figure out what your goals are. So of course, like I said before, goals, they range pretty wide, right? They can either be very soon, very far away, like 5+ years, kind of in the middle of like a year, 6 months or whatever. But you've got to understand, what are your goals, right? So what are your fitness goals, if you have any? What are your career goals, again, if you have any? Just stuff like that. Your family, friends, relationships, what are your goals with those? What are your personal goals to build yourself and grow as a person? Right, so with your fitness goals, what are your goals? Do you go to the gym? Do you run? Why do you do them? Do you do it just to keep fit? Do you do it to look good and have a nice physique? Do you do it, to be strong, right? Lift heavy weights. There's a lot of different reasons why, people do what they do in the gym. I know for myself, I see people go to the gym and, it looks like they're doing something crazy, but maybe they have a goal that I haven't even considered, right? But you've really got to ask yourself, what do you want to get out of why you exercise? Do you want to build up your cardio? Do you want to be fit and lose weight? Do you want to be, more lean? Do you want to lift heavy weights, have a good physique, so on and so forth? You've really got to sit down and think about it. A way to do that is you can journal. I know a lot of people don't like journaling, but you can honestly just grab your phone, write it in the Notes app, or if you have a computer, use Word document, or again, just grab a book and write it down. Either way, you've got to have some sort of way to get your thoughts onto a screen in front of you, a piece of paper in front of you, something where you can look at it. Because that way you can look at it and be like, alright, this is actually my goal. And you've also got to be brutally honest with yourself. What is your goal? Because a lot of people just aren't honest with themselves, and that's kind of really one of the most important things about figuring out what your goals are. So you've got to be honest. It can be something so, that makes you feel so weak, but you've got to be honest. You've really got to be genuinely honest about what your goals are and how you can improve, right? So you've got to figure out what your goals are. So for again, fitness, if you want to build a good physique, alright, that's a decent goal, right? And then you've got to actually figure out how to get that through your training, because a lot of people, they want to get a good physique, but they might be doing 4 or 5 cardio sessions a day. Oh, sorry, not a day, but a week. Now that's not really going to build up your physique. People might be wanting to lose weight, but they're only at the gym once or twice, and you're doing it for strength and not for cardio, right? Of course, outside of a lot of other factors. But a lot of people just don't understand how to hit their goals, and you've just got to do your research. That's also another thing. You've got to do your research. Don't be afraid to put in, 30 plus minutes, right? 30 minutes or more, an hour or more, 2 hours, so on and so forth. Researching how you can achieve your goals. Because a lot of people, right, they've figured out their goal. They're like, alright, I want to lift heavy weight. That's good. But now, how are you going to lift it? How are you going to change your lifting program in order to help you hit those, numbers or get stronger over time, right? And then eventually, you're going to have to figure out, because I know with the gym, a lot of people, if you're going from no exercise to doing exercise, you will see progress. Eventually you will plateau, you will just kind of stagnate, and you need to figure out, how do you overcome that plateau, right? Is it now you move on to your diet, so you keep your training, keep improving that, but now you look at your diet, right? How will my diet help me lock into, helping me achieve my goals in the gym, right? With something like your career, what do you want to do with your career? What are you passionate about, right? I know a lot of people, they, have hobbies and they try to record themselves doing their hobbies, but they're like, no, I don't want my hobbies online. I don't want people to see my hobbies because, they're for me, which is, completely fine. But it's like, what do you want to do for your career? Because you can't just keep working odd jobs or working these jobs you don't like, because that's not very fulfilling, and you eventually just gonna end up burning out and just hating it. But you've got to figure out, alright, what is my goal for my career? How can I achieve it? Do I go, to college, uni, get a degree for what I want? I know a lot of people online are like, don't go to uni, uni's bad, you can just, create a YouTube channel about what you want to do. But if I want to become a filmmaker, or if I want to become a PT or a physio, how can I become that? By not going to uni. You kind of have to go to uni, but at the same time, you've really got to know what you want if you're going back to uni, because again, you don't want to go to uni, drop out, or just go to uni just, because, right? Because that's a lot of, you're going in debt and everything, but that's a video for another time, or I'm just not the most qualified to talk about it. But what I'm saying is, you just got to figure out what you want to do, and then again, do some research, how you're going to achieve it. You've got to understand as well, a lot of these things, very, very simple to achieve, right? How do I become a PT? Oh, I go to uni, do the scores for, 2-3 years, whatever, cool. Again, very simple steps, but a lot of people struggle taking that first step, which, happens with a lot of different things, right? It's always that first step, and once you take it, it's like, wow, that was super easy, right? Because I know I took my first Muay Thai class the other day, and I'd been thinking about doing it for ages, but I took it, and I did it, and I was like, man, that went by really, really quick. I had a ton of fun, and it wasn't easy, it was pretty hard, but, I can see myself going back easier, because I'm not thinking about it now, right? It's always that first step, and then once you take that first step, you kind of just go upward spiral, rocket ship, right? But that's the thing, that first step is pretty tough. But again, if you really want to achieve your goals, you're gonna have to figure out what they are, and then just take the first step. It is very simple, but a lot of people do struggle with a lot of these things, I'm telling you, purely because a lot of people just don't sit down and think. They don't think in their own mind, they don't think in a quiet room, they always have headphones on, earbuds in, music playing, which is terrible. You need to have some time set aside just for you in a quiet room, thinking. You could be thinking about something so completely random and dumb and stupid, but then all of a sudden, boom, your brain just clicks, and you're like, oh my goodness, and then you start just, not going out of control, but you started thinking, you're like, alright. Of course, there is a difference between, overthinking about something and then thinking too much. A healthy dose of thinking is always good. Thinking too much about the same thing is not really that good, because you're just repeating the same thoughts over and over again, you're not evolving it. But what I'm saying is, you do have to set some time aside, you have to think, and be brutally honest with yourself. You've got to figure out, alright, this is what I want to do, I don't care about what they say. I want to do what I want to do, this is how I do it, right? And then, take that first step, which is the hardest, and then it gets a lot easier after that. And then you got to stay consistent. You do have to stay consistent. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You've just got to be consistent, right? For 1 year, 2 year plus. Eventually it becomes habitual. It becomes a force habit. You just do it, boom, off the top of your head, right? Like I know for a lot of people creating YouTube videos, a lot of people want to be YouTubers. They're like, alright, I'm gonna take the first step, boom, I've made a video, I've uploaded it, whatever. They make more videos, they keep evolving, finding out what their niche is, and finding out what they like to create and whatnot, and they do well for a while, and then just like everything, you start to plateau, and then you're like, oh damn, and a lot of people, they will end up just quitting because, they plateau, and they're like, I'm not seeing much value out of this is a waste of time, blah 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 blah, and then some people will choose to, evolve their content, maybe try something new. All of a sudden they, keep going up, right? Just like with the gym or anything else, you keep going up. But again, you have to stay consistent, because as long as you stay consistent, you really can't stop. You know what I mean? Even if you're in the gym, you don't have a good physique or whatever, if you've been training for like 2-3 years, your diet's actually half decent, and you're pushing yourself in the gym, you're gonna have a good physique compared to everyone else. Of course, if you're trying to be a bodybuilder, that's different. But if you look at the average bloke, and they're training pretty subpar, your physique's gonna be better than them. Like, yeah, you might have a bodybuilder physique if you want to be one, but what I'm saying is you're gonna have a pretty good physique compared to the average person. And that's just what I'm getting at with this video. So I know I kind of rambled a little bit off track, but we'll kind of go over what I went through in this video. So number one, what are your goals? Set some time aside, write it down, type it out, whatever it may be. Figure out what your goals are in different aspects of life. Fitness, finance, career, personal, so on and so forth. Just figure out what your goals are, and then figure out how do I achieve those goals, right? What are some steps I can take to achieve these goals, but in about a few months' time? What are some steps I can take in a few years' time to achieve these goals and still keep evolving these goals as well to meet my needs, and so on and so forth? And then from there, do your research. Again, that kind of goes in with what I said before, but do your research on how to take the first step and then keep continuing to grow, and so on and so forth. So that'll be it for this video, guys. I really do hope it helped you figure out what your goals are, or at least figure out what to do in order for you to find your goals. And as always, guys, peace.